Hey, welcome everyone. Hey, this is a podcast that explores various aspects of addiction, potentially focusing on personal stories of recovery, scientific perspectives, societal impacts, or related topics. This podcast often features discussions with experts, individuals in recovery, therapists, and advocates to offer insights and support to those affected by addiction or seeking more information about it. Welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. I'm your host, Al Richards, and today with our guest that I'm excited to have back on the show for a second time after probably about 2 years or 2.5 years, my good buddy, Gregory Scargall. And today we're going to be talking about results kill excuses. And I am so excited to talk about this. So, Gregory, man, thank you so much for taking time out of your day again. It's so good to see you, brother. I see your videos on social media, a lot of the stuff. It is so crazy. We were talking a little bit about spiritual stuff before we started recording. And, there are times I will click on one of your videos and I tell you what, it's the spirit sends me right to it because it's exactly what I needed to hear that day. And I get that from some of my posts from people reaching out going, thank you. I needed to hear this today. It's so amazing that people like ourselves, even though we've had bumps and bruises in our life, just like everyone else, how we can take that and learn from it and go off in a different direction and to be able to help other individuals where we used to be at one time in our life.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Al, for inviting me back to speak to you, to connect with you and your audience. And I just the timing couldn't be any better. We just got on. It was 11:11. If you're a numbers person, this is probably the right show for you. And I really do commend your tenacity, your consistency to keep doing the show, no matter what life presents to any of us. We're all going through something. And I think that when we can get deeper into who we are and realize our truth, then the guilt, the shame, the mistakes, the failures, they actually start to become the things that we can use to inspire others. It becomes the fuel that helps us to truly start to get some results, to truly start to transform our self-image. And I just recently commemorated my 12-year sobriety on July 22nd, depending on when you're watching this. And, it took me hitting rock bottom. It took me literally blowing past all the warning signs, all the cautionary tape, everything that was literally saying this is not going to go well. And it's a sad story because I know that many people that are out there are feeling that same way, that we just don't know how to surrender to our best self, to surrender peacefully, to say, I don't want the pain. But it took me hitting this rock bottom where I was just broken, man. I didn't have no other choice. I knew that this was the moment, that the time was now. And ultimately, it was me realizing a few things. One, I had to realize and stop with my sense of denial that it was time for me to break up with my relationship with alcohol. And I always conceptualize alcohol as being a relationship. But when we even talk about addictions, it's no longer just like the addict, the drug addict, the alcohol. I mean, it's porn, it's negative thinking, it's video games, it's unhealthy food, it's snacks, it's gambling, it's women. I mean, it's shopping, it's social media. We got so many addictions right now that at the root of it, along this 12-year journey, I've been reflecting on what are the lessons of this 12-year journey. Well, one of the first things that comes up for me is that, guess what? It wasn't about the addiction. The addiction wasn't the issue. What I now know is that it was unresolved childhood trauma. That I just got introduced at a very early age to a substance called alcohol, and it changed how I felt temporarily. maybe for an hour, maybe for a whole night, maybe for a binge weekend, but it didn't give me long-term results. It was very short-lived. And ultimately, it actually caused bigger problems throughout my life. And I've also, along this 12-year journey, it's like I broke up with the alcohol and said, okay, now what? Well, the next step was to say, look at everything, look what my life has become. And I like to say I had to take extreme ownership, man. Extreme ownership. I couldn't play victim in that moment. I couldn't say, well, it was because of my mommy issues and my daddy issues and, the abandonments that have happened, the trauma that I couldn't do any of that. What good was that going to do to be pointing the finger in every direction? I had to just point it back at myself and say, look, this is the circumstances of my life. I'm either going to tap out or I'm going to get up and start getting after it and start making some improvements in my life. And I knew the number one thing that I had to let go of was the alcohol. Then I started taking extreme ownership. And one of the most difficult things came next for a guy like me, for a man like me, military veteran type, alpha type man, was to do this: ask for help. I realized I couldn't do it alone, man. I couldn't. I didn't know what else to do. I needed help. And I had realized that I couldn't just go to my confidants. I couldn't just put this emotional toil and this burden of all of my failures, all of my mistakes, all of my misery on those that I love. They didn't sign up for that job. I needed professional help. And I needed to get serious about making some changes in my life. And along this 12-year journey, there's been so many rich lessons that I would love to share with you in the audience today, because I've really evolved. I think even if people play back the session just from, I think, a year or two ago, I've evolved.
Yeah.
And the reason is because I'll share with you guys a secret. If you guys want a pro tip on personal development, self-discovery, self-mastery, here's a little Easter egg pro tip. You have to do it every day. It's not one and done. It wasn't just a decision to get sober. It was a continuation, consistency every single day, putting in the work, because I truly believe so many people that are out there that are suffering in silence, that don't have the words to say, hey, I'm feeling this way. And also an ability to say they're worthy of help, to say, can someone help me? Will you help me? Is they lack purpose. But what I've discovered on this 12-year journey is that we all have the mystery's done. I have the secret. The number one purpose for every single human being on this planet is to become your best self. That's it. Your calling and your gifts and how you share those with the world, that'll come. But the first thing that we all need to stop and do is to look at our habits, our patterns, and our behaviors. And I always break it down into 3 levels: complete health, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, and physical health, in no particular order. But there needs to be a balance there, because that is a composition of the totality of who we are as a being, as a spiritual being. And yet, I know plenty of people that are very physically impressive, but they're broken
Yeah.
mentally and emotionally. I know people that are very spiritually stout and zealous, and they're physically kind of a mess. And yet, I believe that there's no rights and wrongs. It's not a comparison game. It's me versus me, you versus you, and everyone versus themselves. And that's why I believe that when we can get honest with ourselves, it takes that. When we can really peel back some layers and get honest with ourselves to say, is this truly benefiting my life? Does this truly align with what makes me feel good? What makes me feel the best? Am I really uh, being a role model? Especially if we have children and youth around us, multi-generational, it's like, you're an example, whether it's a good one or a bad one. Like the time has come for us to start saying, let's take some extreme ownership and say, you know what? I had kind of throughout my 12-year sobriety, they legalized marijuana here in New Mexico, and I kind of gave into it a little bit. I was using it to escape. I was coming out of a 21-year marriage and 41 years at the time. And it was like, I literally thought life was over. I thought it was going to die in my 30s, Al. And clearly you're a lot younger than me, but I see how physically fit you are. I see how active you are. And I don't think you realize how much you inspire me, because I'm sitting here at 45 years young. And it's like, I used to just have a mindset of like, well, maybe I'll work out for today. Maybe I'll get in shape for this season. When it's like, when I talk to people in their 60s, their 70s at the gym, still getting it, hiking up and down mountains, I'm like, my perspective totally has to change. I got 30 more years of being fit and staying in shape, not just getting one session in,
Yeah.
not showing I'm back at it. No, it's 30 more years. So changing the perspective, fit for life, being active, being mobile, wanting to experience new things each and every day. And so I
You know,
really go
if
ahead.
I could pause you just for a second, Gregory, and first of all, I just got to say thank you for thinking that I'm younger than you, because I just hit 61 in July. So
Come
thank
on,
you.
man. Let's
Thank
see that
you
arm,
so
Al. Come
much.
on, man. I know you got
Yeah,
some good.
so
Look at this guy.
I appreciate it,
Look
my
at
friend.
that man right there. 61. What's your excuse? What is your excuse? I'm 45. All natural. What's your excuse, guys?
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
the life. We need it. Our bodies.
amen. And that was not really the reason why I wanted to pause you. But again, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. That makes me feel really good. You know, how you talking about it's not a one and done thing. And I've said before in some of my public speaking, those who have fallen into addiction, no matter what that addiction is, it wasn't a one and done thing, right? You just didn't do it once and all of a sudden fall into the complete 100% addict life. It takes that time. Basically, I want our listeners to understand, which I'm sure that they do, is Gregory's talking about putting that freaking car in reverse and backing it up, and it takes that amount of time to get back. However, if you guys notice too, if you ever watch drag racing, they do their burnout to heat up their tires to get that rubber hot and get it sticky. So when they're ready to go down the track, there's a person that comes in front of them and directs them like this. That's the help Gregory's talking about. We have to have help, and we can't go to somebody who's not lived that life. Whether it's a higher power or someone else who has lived the same life you have and have gone through 12 years of sobriety like Gregory has, those are the type of people that you need in your life. And I'll tell you what, they're not going to show you how to do it. They're going to lead you. They may drop breadcrumbs, but that's what I love about being a part of this type of community, this recovery community. We're all there to just basically go, here, let me take your hand and I'm just going to lead you over here to this path. Now you start going down it and let me know what you find. And if you come to an obstacle, I'll give you a little direction on maybe how to get around it. However, we're still doing those steps ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely not one and done. And so for the listeners, just for some education, the process to addiction starts with experimentation. Then you get to step two is regular use, risky use. Then it's codependency. And then you get to addiction. And I'm someone that alcohol was something I got exposed to very early on. I can also tell you that I really feel like I started having addictive patterns by the time I was probably 15. And I never went to my first party thinking I'm gonna be an addict. It doesn't matter how bad a shape that this left me, I'm gonna go back to it. But I can tell you through this 12-year journey is I've had to peel back other layers of addictions. I've had eating disorders, and I think that's a huge one in this country right now. You got 50% of men obese. 50% obese. That's over 30% body fat. That's men are lacking purpose and drive and just a sense of meaning to their lives. And yet I've also I've battled with addiction with pornography. I've battled with addiction with post alcohol, the sweet tooth. Man, I'll tell you a quick story. A year ago, I was going on a trip to Arizona, and I made a quick stop into Walmart, and it was around Easter, and all the candies was waving at me saying, "Hey, look at us." And I said, "Oh man, let me go check this out." And my favorites were there, these sweet tart jelly beans. And they said, "Look at us, family size pack. I'm by myself." And I said, "Well, I got to get one of those." And then right below it was my second favorite, which is Sour Patch Kid jelly beans. And they're like, "You can't go without us. Never seen us before. We're new." And I'm like, I was going there for a little propane canister for my camp stove. And I walk up and there's a line. There's only one self checkout. There's issues. There's this huge line, man. And I knew that it was the first time I'd gone on a trip since like a breakup. So I was feeling this uncomfortable, emotional, just, just these emotions were coming up. And about a week prior, I'd seen this meme that said, "You don't have a sweet tooth. You have unresolved trauma. You don't have a savory tooth for salts and chips and crunchy. You have unresolved trauma." And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it. They didn't even have the canisters at Walmart, but I'm sitting there with these 2 family pack of candies. And I'm like, I'm going to go on this trip. I'm going to eat these all by myself and I'm going to feel like shit. And I said, I can't do this. I need to deal with the emotions. I need to start like, this was just another layer of what I call life on life's terms. And I literally grabbed the candies, I threw them on the ground, and I made a covenant with myself in that moment that in the whole entire trip, no matter how many gas stations or uncomfortable emotions, I wasn't going to go and jump to the candy and the sweets. And so in this day and age, man, we can hide so many addictions because what I call those is the escape routes. When the emotions get uncomfortable, we start to feel lonely, we start to feel sad, we start to feel abandoned, we start to feel unloved. You know, when those emotions come up that are uncomfortable, negative hidden emotions inside of us, we look to the escape routes, is what I call it. You want to run to the escape route, and it can be food, it can be porn, it can be a toxic relationship, it could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be cigarettes, nicotine, video games. It can even be the gym, Al. There's times where I see tons of people, myself included, for seasons where when I felt uncomfortable, I said, I better go get it in. The difference with me now, this fully healed self mastery over myself version, is when I feel that uncomfortable, I find the time and the space to sit there, self soothe, breathe into the uncomfortable, give it a name. What am I feeling right now? I'm feeling uncertain. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling nervous. Okay, let's feel those things. And I start talking to that inner child, man, and I just do some breath work and focus, find where it's coming up. Usually for me, it's in this heart center because I've been through a lot of betrayal. And I'll feel it there, and I just put the focus there, and I send some love to that area, and guess what? It dissipates. And then I can go do the gym. So it's not to say don't go to do the gym, but it's if I'm using the gym to just distract as an escape route, to never deal with the emotion, right? There's no healing in that. There may be results, but there's not healing. And that has been one of the most incredible experiences along this journey. And when I really started to have that breakthrough was through therapy. My therapist started doing crosstalk between the inner child, the adult, and the parent. And this was really profound because she would set up a dialogue. Hey, I want little Gregory, my inner child, to talk to G Dog, the adult. And I want little Gregory to tell G Dog, how does he feel when little Gregory gets scared and G Dog goes and kicks in the door and starts like wrecking havoc on something that is really just a sense of maybe someone's rejecting you. That doesn't need this overreaction, that maybe we need to create some boundaries and guidelines within on our emotional responses. And the thing I realized is that I grew up with a single mother. She started another family when I was about 12 years old. And so I wrote a story of abandonment. I always had abandonment because my father was never in the picture. Once my mother finally fled from the abusive, just crazy, crazy abusive relationship, but it had created trauma bonding and codependency with me and mom. And yet I had to write this story that my mom was now abandoning me, that I'm all alone. And so I started making all these big decisions for myself. So here's how this breaks down. I have this inner child that had a codependency with the mother, trauma bond, afraid of the world, not feeling safe unless I was in mom's arms, being held. Because that, like, aside from that, dad was fucking ready to kill us all. No kidding. And so the adult version of me had to grow up really fast, was very immature, was very overprotective. And thus that left us even feeling more isolated because we would hurt people when we sensed abandonment, rejection, misunderstanding. There would be an overreaction to protect the inner child. The big problem that I had within the three, because I mentioned three types of our personality, was the parent. I didn't have a parent presence developed within me, totally checked out. But throughout my healing journey, I have now developed Greg, who Greg is super dad. He can be there and hold space for people now, hold space. He can speak to that inner child and say, I see you. It's safe. We're going to be okay. And when we started doing this crosstalk dialogue, it was for the first time in my life, Al, that I felt whole and complete. I'm like, wait, I've been at war within these aspects of my personality. That's what's going on inside of me that has me so angry, frustrated, and feeling misunderstood. Wait, we're all on the same team. We're all at the same table. We're never going to abandon ourselves. Let's be the most incredible fucking team on this planet. And once that started to gel and really start to bloom and blossom, man, I'm unstoppable now because I know that I will never abandon myself. So no matter what someone else wants to do, we're going to have those internal dialogues and that support for ourselves. And
Yeah.
that's getting those results.
You know, I loved how you put that, Gregory, because, a couple of years ago, it took me going through a lot of battles and some different things and still trying to figure out direction for my life, which again, I believe is a lifelong journey where we're always improving ourselves. There is no finish line when it comes to that. To get to a point where I realized I cannot help others with that's something that I really want to do when I haven't even figured out how to help myself at that time. And now that I get to work with clients, now that I'm a certified crisis and recovery coach, I had a client cancel one of our meetings because of something that was happening or some of their friends. It was had a lot of trauma going, and they canceled the meeting to go help the friends. And I've been thinking about that the last couple of weeks, and I'm going, well, this is crazy because where this person is going to help the friends, she's in the same place that her friends are in. So how, again, how can we help someone when we're not even helping ourselves? And it's a good selfishness in my eyes, right? We have to be selfish in a way of growing and loving ourselves before we can actually emit and put that love out into the world to help others in that journey. I mean, do you look at it in a different way, or is that how you see it also?
I see it. I see it exactly that way, Al. And it even reminds me of the last show when I had asked your co-host, who are the top three people you love the most, and they didn't include themselves as number one. And yet I'm telling you, this is programming. We're programmed from the earliest phases of life. Everything's externalized, from the caregivers to then the authority figures to the teachers that we have in our life. We learn about everyone else's history. We don't learn about ourselves. There's no time that we truly learn about ourselves, but that is changing. And yet you're absolutely right. I call that self-interest. It's literally having self-interest. It's the oxygen in the airplane analogy, right? Like, you got to save yourself before you can take care of the person next to you. But yet so many people are programmed that taking care of others is self-care, and it's not. It's an escape route. It's what I just mentioned. It's an escape route. This person is saying, wait, okay, stay committed and consistent with my self-care. No, I'm going to be superwoman or superman today because I can go be a rescuer. There's something that's called the drama triangle. I'm not
I
sure if you're
just get,
familiar with this.
yeah, we're on the same thing. I
Dude, we're
just
on the
get
same
ready to
page.
say that. Yeah.
But this
Yep.
is what you're even talking about, is like, this is the flow state. This is how you know this is of God, because there's synchronicity, there's alignment, and there's flow. We're not having to be uh, scripted here. But yet the drama triangle, you have a persecutor, you have a rescuer, and you have a victim. And I have put so much intention to subtract myself from that triangle, because if like there's something about me that I want to play the rescuer. And there's other times where I want to be the victim. If I'm feeling unloved or unappreciated, I'm now the victim, and that person is persecuting me or they need to rescue me. And, they say the greatest day in someone's life is when they realize that no one's coming to rescue them. They have to self-rescue. We have to self-rescue. And if you're someone of faith, look, Jesus is going to get you to heaven, but he is not going to like fix your issues that you're faced with right here and right now. You have life. You need to do this to prove it to yourself. That's what I have a new mantra. It's, if it was easy, it wouldn't be worth it. And so
Yeah.
many people are afraid of the hard, but I agree with you when you're talking about it's self-interest. Again, we have all these labels: narcissistic,
Oh,
ego-centered, right? Like self-centered. And it's like, it's all to disconnect us from actually saying, I need to invest in myself. I need to, because here's the beautiful thing. When you start to invest in yourself and you get to your truth, the more, here's the thing, you can only give people the love you give to yourself, right? If you improve your relationship with yourself, it will improve the relationships with others, because you're going to start getting to a deeper truth, a more authentic version of you. You're going to realize I'm wearing a lot of masks, especially if you act this way with this group, this way at work, this way over here, this way. If you're doing that, right, you're lying to yourself about your reality. And that is very common in this day and age, because here's the thing, we're afraid of, we need acceptance. People genuinely in our hearts, we're like, we want to be accepted. We want to feel like we belong. And in modern society, we don't have our tribes anymore like we did in ancient times, where if you were a part of a tribe, man, everybody had a something to bring to the table. You either had the hunters, the gatherers, the craftsmen, right? The women doing the cooking and the growing and the harvesting. I mean, like there was no sitting back and cheering for those that harvested, cheering for those that hunted. No, man, everybody's putting in work and learning those skills. But nowadays, we celebrate being a spectator, watching other people perform, watching other people win trophies as if we're winning trophies, and we're broke, we're suffering, we're depressed, we're overweight. And it's like, no, that's not your team. And so these are tough topics to hear, but the time is now. It is now, because if you're hearing this message, it's not too late. Al just said 61 years young and he's still learning about himself. I'm 45 years young. I'm still learning about myself. When I was in my mid 30s, I was married. I had the kids, I had the house with a picket fence, and I literally told myself a story from society that I've reached the pinnacle. It's all downhill from here. And
But
guess
you're
what? My
successful. You made
body
it.
looked my body looked like a bag of potato chips. I had big flabby tits and a big barrel around my waist and I was like it's all downhill. And it's like that's the farthest thing from the truth.
Yeah. So far, and I love that you brought up the drama triangle, because there is that upper triangle, and at the very top of that upper triangle is the word hero. And with what you just said, we cheer other people on that win the gold medals and stuff. And the people who win that, they've worked their ass off to get there, right? They deserve to be where they're at, and they work their ass off. And for me, I'm not knocking anybody here, because I've been asked before about heroes, or if I have someone that I look up to, and there's people that I look up to who I've learned from. And there's a lot of people who look at heroes as sports people or actors and actresses or lead singers of bands or whatever it may be. Gregor, you freaking nailed it. The hero's supposed to be you. You're this hero. You're the one that's supposed to be standing up on top of that freaking triangle where you're sitting like this and your cape's in the wind, blowing in the wind. And it's so crazy that I think a lot of things that's holding us back, society definitely, because they've programmed it in us like crazy. We're looking at the world through a straw. People are afraid to go deep inside because of what they're afraid they're going to see. Because we're all broken. I don't give a crap who you are. I know people who have millions of dollars and they're miserable. And I know people who are broke and happy as hell. So and vice versa. I mean, there's so many different ways. And it wasn't when I lost my job of 24 years, and I had a friend call me and said that I wasn't trusted as an individual because I was a liar and a manipulator. And my listeners have heard this before, and I keep repeating it because it's so freaking true. I called BS on that. And it took some time for me to do what you have done, and a lot of other people are starting to do. I really had to dig deep inside and really put my tail between my legs and went, oh my hell, they're right. That's exactly the person that I am. Because we don't want to accept that we have weaknesses. And I don't know if your version of it is a little different. However, it's even like in certain recoveries, right? You got the 12-step program where you have that point in the 12 steps where you've got to admit to your weaknesses, really, and where you're lacking. And that is so hard for individuals to do. And I think that is something that pulls back the reins for so many people. What Gregory's saying, guys, you get past that. I mean, it's like picking the right freaking door at Let's Make a Deal, where you win the boat, the car, all the money, everything. I mean, what's your take on that?
Well, first off, I appreciate you sharing your side of it, like that you have been through that as well. And yeah, that day of reckoning, that and it's not even a day of reckoning. I don't want to make it negative, but it's so scary, Al. It's so scary. And it's rooted in what I said earlier. It's acceptance. Because if we show who we truly are, here's the most scary thing. We're gonna lose people. People get to reevaluate whether they want us in their lives. I mean, anybody that's ever tried to switch up, get healthier, get sober, it's like right away, you want to jump on that wagon, everyone starts like I'm leaving you, I'm abandoning you, we're not friends anymore, you think you're so much better than us. And getting inundated with that, it's enough to keep us stuck. It's enough to keep us in fear. It's enough to keep the masks on us so that we don't really show who we are. And I'm just telling people that you're absolutely right about the hero piece. We are supposed to be the hero, but here's the beautiful thing. The athletes and stuff, unless you're going to be an athlete or and that's your life track, then there's really no time to be watching athletes perform until you hit such a high point in your own success journey that you have some free time to celebrate and watch other people because you're winning. But at the end of the day, I challenge a lot of my clients to do this because we think we're alone. Here's the crazy thing. We think we're alone. We think the spotlight's on us. Everybody knows all of our secrets. No one knows. No one even cares. When you walk into the gym and you're super heavy and fat, no one in there cares that you're super heavy and fat. Only you care. Everyone else that's fit and in everything in between, because it's all in the gym. They're just so worried about themselves. They're worried about their own imperfections. They're worried about their own life circumstances that are not perfect and not fully aligned with their highest self. And so it does take a place where you just stop. Like you're just fresh out of fucks is what I call it, man. Just fresh out of fucks. I'm done. I'm done caring about what other people think about me because they don't think about you. It's us. And yet I really would challenge just for an exercise for people that if there's something in your life that you want to overcome, you want to, go from a tough situation into a successful situation, do a web search about whatever it is that you're wanting to overcome, right? Could be how I overcame an addiction to gaming and built a successful business. It could be how I overcame my addiction to negative thinking and went back to school and did something successful in life. And what you're going to see, it's so beautiful, man, is that people are sharing their stories. Real people are sharing their stories now of inspiration so that you don't have to feel alone. I saw a story the other day where someone went from being the janitor at a hospital to a registered nurse. Like they went from being the janitor to a registered nurse. And it's like anything is possible if you're willing to put all this time, all this attention that you're putting on all these distractions that are totally like there for a reason. If you can literally shut that stuff down and start focusing on what do you want and why? What do you love? What do you hate? What do you want and why? Those four things, it is looking in the mirror. And unfortunately, so many people have such a bad self-image of who they are. We don't love ourselves. I wake up in the mirror and I'm grateful for the guy I am, but I still point out the things I want to be a little more dialed in, a little more lean, whatever it is. Less scar here, less this there. And it's like we just have an inclination to turn to the negative. And if that is who you are, it is even more imperative that you're filling your mind with positive affirmations, with positive thinking. You got to turn off the tunes and the music that's so like influential of like the haves and the have-nots. And it's like, you're absolutely right. There's miserable people that are billionaires. There's miserable people that are poor. And we have to stop comparing. But it is great when you can find somebody that is doing what you would love to do and then do some research on that person. What you're going to see is their life, if it's out there enough, it's filled with failures. It's filled with setbacks. And yet they're still successful. And that was one of the takeaways from my 12-year journey, right? Is failure is part of the success process.
Yeah.
I wrote my failures as I was a failure and I started to shut down Al. And once I started to hear some motivation and listen to people's lives that were successful, it was filled with their failures. They owned it. They said, I failed too many times. A funny example is just, I used to be a 4th and 5th grade teacher, and I would teach these kids with very low self-confidence that Edison, it took him 2,000 attempts to get the light bulb right. 2,000 times of failing.
10,000.
10,000 times. I mean,
Yeah.
think about all his bros back then, like Tom, Let's go hit the bar, man. Like, stop. You're crazy, dog. Like,
Yeah.
let's go do the bar. Let's go talk to some girls. Let's go out fishing. Let's go ride the horses. Like, stop with this, man. How many times are you going to do this and it's not working? Give it up. But yet something inside of him. And we all have this gift. Every single human on this planet has at least one divine gift, and it is your divine right. You don't have to earn it. It was given to you, but we have covered it with so much stuff that we need to get back. And by getting back, I mean, we need to go within and we need to connect with God, and we need to truly, truly find what is this gift? What is the thing that we can do with the greatest amount of success with the least amount of effort? It could be speaking, it could be dancing, it could be painting, drawing. There's so much. It's a creative gift. And we need to cultivate it and we need to develop it and then ultimately to share it with the world.
Yeah. And, I didn't even know what my gift was, in all honesty, Gregory, until I'd been on this 15-year journey, for me. And it wasn't even up until probably 3 years ago when I first started this podcast, where I started realizing a gift that God had given me. And you are so right, because we've all been given one. And I'll tell you what, one of the most amazing things that happens when you figure out what that gift is that God has given you, He starts placing things in your life to help you better those skills, to make you even better than what He had already given you. Because again, you said it earlier, we still have to put in the work. We can still ask for our higher powers direction, and he'll lead us in that direction. But however, we still have to do the work. And I that's what I love about what you have there on your mic. The results kill excuses. Just out of respect, I won't share my friend's name. He's been telling me for the past 4 years, actually, I think close to five, he's going to go to the gym with me. It's been 5 years. He's not interested in going to the gym. If he was, the results would kill that excuse, because that person would be at the gym. And anytime I talk to him about it, there's always the reasons why they can't go to the gym. And I'm just as guilty with that. I don't know how many times people said, Al, all you need to do is do this. And I've got a reason why I can't do it, which is crazy, because really I just said a word that the brain doesn't recognize, and that's can't. I can't. Our brains literally don't comprehend I can't.
Hmm.
It's crazy how so many of us are so afraid to take that step, because we're so comfortable where we are at in our lives. But it's been talked about throughout this whole freaking show. Are you that comfortable? Really? You shared that you had the house, the picket fence, the wife, the kids. It was all downhill. Is it really? I mean, maybe downhill towards the cesspool, because that's where a lot of us end up, when instead of continuing to climb that mountain just to reach a bottom of another mountain, to climb that mountain and to continue, so on and so forth. So thank you for what you have shared so far. I mean, this has been amazing.
Excuses kill results. That's what I love about the logo. My girlfriend talks about that often. She's going to create a opposing brand. Excuses kill results. When I don't come through, saying what I mean and meaning what I say. And yet you're so right. But as I'm hearing you talk, it's like the things that are coming up to my mind is that there's just people that are scared, man. They're scared. They don't want to accept their calling, their spiritual calling. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that we are all spiritual beings having a human experience. And we get life. And what a lot of people don't want to realize is God. Like, God is like, we as co-creators have designed this life to be challenging, to be very challenging, because what I have also realized is that through the challenges is where the growth is. The more you can accept a challenge, the more that you can get really uncomfortable being uncomfortable, that is where you grow. Like doing the hard things. And it's sad, it's frustrating because I have to throw this stat out there is right now on this planet 2,000 men a day don't have the words to ask for help, that they are choosing to take their own life. And they're 4 times more likely. So you could say 500 women a day are choosing that on this planet. I was in the veterans community running a program out of the local community college here in New Mexico in Santa Fe. And, back then we were all startled by the 22 a day was a big movement and it's still present, but yet 2,000, I mean, that's legions upon legions of men that aren't feeling useful, that are only feeling like they're feeling invisible. They're feeling as if their lives don't matter because these are the guys that are at the service station that are working on your electrical and answering your plumbing calls and, you know, doing the construction and the road work and just, the yard work and like roofing, just all of these jobs that are primarily, things that men do. Like it's not filling their cup. They're feeling like I need more. And yet they're so exhausted at the end of the day. And I know this feeling because I was there, that we need to find purpose. And it's like what you're saying is to be the hero on my shirt here. It's the results kill excuses. We have the C, which is stands for captain, just like in the sports. Like I believe that every single one of us, whether you signed up for it or not, you're the captain of your team, not the team in this nice town playing in these big stadiums. You're not the team captain of that team. They got their team captain. You are the team captain of your team. That is the people that are right around you every single day. They are looking to you to be a leader, to be inspiring, to be a role model. And I'm telling you, the biggest flex right now in 2024 are the people that are breaking the cycle of addiction and saying, I'm going to do life on life's terms. I am going to do life on life's terms. No more escape routes. I am ready. I mean, it's becoming a movement. There's clubs popping up that are sober clubs now. I mean, I was even looking up the stats that the millennials and the Gen Zers have actually had a drastic reduction in alcohol intake. Like they're really awakening to this. I'm concerned. I'm a Gen Xer, and I know definitely the generation that I was raised by, which is the boomers, are, man, like suicide rates in older people, 55 and over, is skyrocketing right now, Al. Why is that? Because they've lived a fulfilled life? No, it's because their whole life has passed them by and they're like, I haven't accomplished anything. I'm a miserable fuck. Like I haven't done anything of meaning in my life. And it's just, it leaves people feeling so empty. And yet, all we need to do is get back to this core purpose of saying, no matter where you're at right now, all you have to do is look yourself in the mirror and say, is there anything I can do starting today that will make me a little better than who I was yesterday? And if you just do that every single day with some intention and some inspiration, right? Time will actually start to show those results. And so we live in really hard times now and people are struggling. There's a great amount of suffering. And so I am on a mission to help people with that. And so, I started with talking just like you, right? Doing a podcast, like doing my vlogs and just getting online and sharing my healing journey, sharing my experiences. And I've now developed the results kill excuses into a custom app that I'm offering 25 personal discovery courses, which again is some scary stuff because people right away are in denial. I can tell you that for the 12 years I've been in therapy, still to this day, once a week, that I've met many people along the way and it's just discounted. I don't need that. I don't need that. I'm not all fucked up like you or whatever it is. Like we have all these stigmas that if I admit that I need therapy, then something's wrong with me. And I don't want my friends or my social group to know that. And then I'm going to be banned and kicked out of the club. So I would rather try and figure it out in my head. We can't figure it out in our heads, Al. We need a sounding board. And here's the problem is there's so much codependency that those of us that are suffering with some emotional trauma from our past, we continue to put that baggage on those that we love, and they're not prepared, they're not signed up, they're not qualified to carry that weight. And yet I believe in the mixture to where I've continued to have professional help, but I have gone on my own self-healing discovery of learning what is self-care, what is the spiritual version of who I want to be. And I've actually, in the app that I've just launched, there's 25 lessons for self-discovery, and I have a workbook for it. And these courses are pretty powerful stuff. One of them's called Breaking Up with My Addictions, right? The other one is Hurting People Hurt Themselves First. See, we hear a lot of times hurting people hurt others, but
Yeah.
trust me, we hurt ourselves first and then we share that pain. And that's why there is so much suffering, mental and emotional, on this planet right now. It's because this is generational. This is a generational passing of the emotional pain and suffering, right? Other ones is making over my relationships. I've got 99 problems and positive solutions for everyone. So it's really an opportunity for people to start, that are ready to start looking in the mirror, going within. And it's really cool. The app has it where it's me doing guided courses. So each lesson has, it's free right now too. So it's a downloadable worksheet, a reflection prompt. There's a video overview where I walk people through the worksheet. There's also an audio download, but then there's a step-by-step with me filling out the worksheet, because here's the thing, it's not standalone. You couldn't just get this workbook and go off to the races. I really believe that this coaching, this mentorship, this not feeling alone is a really key component of having someone to guide us through this process. And the most powerful thing is anybody that has ever overcome something in their life is now perfectly qualified to go and help the former version of who they were. And that's what I'm on a mission to do now, Al. So I'm very passionate about what's happening in this time, because it's not just talk anymore. I'm building the Results Kill Excuses Academy that is starting with these first 5 courses that are a free offering, major value, and it's ultimately leading into the self-mastery program, which is called the Transformational F Journal, where I condense my 12 years of healing into 12 weeks of focused work that is like systematically takes someone from self-discovery to acceptance, healing, into redeveloping, reimagining, reinvigorating your dreams for the future so that you can truly master life and trust yourself to accomplish your dreams, to be the hero, wear the cape. You talked about the cape, that's in there.
Yeah.
And what's cool is, even if I just show you this, is one of my favorite ones is probably because I was a teacher. And I remember as a kid, when I was given an option to say, hey, do you want to write a 5-paragraph essay class, or do you want to do this fun vocabulary worksheet? I'm going for the worksheet. And so what I've done with the workbook is all of the pages are actually turning the process of scripting and journaling into interactive worksheets for adults, but it's really the inner child, right? That's what we're working with here. And so I'm really excited to be able to offer this to the world.
I love it. And again, this is just connecting the dots backwards of your life, Gregory, has put you exactly where you're supposed to be right this moment by building results, kill excuses, and this workbook, because again, you've lived it. And who better else to learn from someone that who has also walked that same path. So thank you for doing that because yeah, it's going to help a lot of individuals. Definitely, it's going to help a lot of individuals. And I'd like to ask you something when we get off the air, to see if I can also help to where we can help send people towards that. And I'll make sure that get me all that information so I can put it on the caption too. So when the show is posted, all that information's there.
Thank you, Al.
Absolutely. So gosh, we're coming up on the hour mark, Gregory, and gosh, I'm pretty sure you and I could probably go for at least another couple more hours just because of where the conversation has led and actually what's happened with both of our lives. We have both definitely grown a lot since the first show that we did. I had the studio at the time, when you came on to the show for the very first time. And it's so cool to see how both of us have just really stepped up our game. And not saying our journey's ended because it's definitely not, as I said earlier. However, we've learned so much more. And this is what I love also about the guests and stuff that come on the show. We're taking what we have learned in our life and we're doing everything we can to share it because it doesn't do any good to keep it. And I've throughout my years of working, I've worked with people who, they always wanted to be the go-to person. They didn't want to share what they learned with anyone else because they wanted that boost of their ego to go, oh, this person can do it. Let's count on them. However, you've said it even throughout the show. It takes a community of us to make a change in this world. Not one person's going to do it, and there's no way that we can. And when we've got more people like yourself and other guests who have come on the show that want to share and get that knowledge out there to help as many people as possible, and it's that ripple effect. You've probably, just even with your videos, you've touched my life with some of the things that you have shared with your videos. I can't imagine how many other people that you've touched, and who knows how far that ripple will go because they're going to say, hey, check out this video from this guy. It's just going to continue to grow. And before you know it, we've created a hell of a tsunami.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. And I was thinking that, you know, I've really had to, I haven't had to, I've cultivated unconditional love for myself. And in doing that, then that means that I can now show up for anybody with unconditional love. And the measure of what I would say, what is unconditional love, you ask? It's that when you meet somebody and you don't have to change them, you can accept them where they're at. That doesn't mean that they're going to be in your inner circle. That doesn't mean they're going to be welcomed in your home, but you can just see people for who they are. If you can offer them or speak a word of life into them, then that's great. But if they're not ready, then they're not ready. And that's the real truth of it all, is like, you can't force change on people. And yet it's so sad because so many of us are going to have to crash and burn, like myself, just being a stubborn dude, blowing past those warning signs because I didn't want to just come peacefully and say, hey, I'm just, my life is a mess and I need help. Instead, we're like, we want to be in that victim, like total collapse, where it's like now it's almost like a weird, I need all the attention on me, is like, I'm in crisis mode. So someone's going to come, right? Someone's going to show up because I'm in crisis now and everybody can see it and sense it. And it's like, it shouldn't have to get to that. It doesn't have to get to that. And I wish that if I can just save a few people from having that crash and burn, but the chances are that if you are on that downward trajectory, my hope is that you hit it soon so that you can start turning your life around. And that's a tough reality, but it's what I needed. And I know so many other people need it too. And in closing, I mean, I would like to share with you just some of my life lessons because I think these are some pretty good nuggets, if you don't mind.
No, please do.
And so I've been like really chewing on these and I was thinking, well, 12 years and I should have 12 of these. And I'm like, I don't know. I got 20 of them. So I'm going to shoot them off because I just don't care about the number. It's, these things come from my heart. These are the experiences. This is the gold, right? The medicine that I learned along my journey of saying no to a substance and saying yes to life. And I started earlier, it was always more than alcohol. Trauma was and is the root of addiction. My seasons of singularity were the most powerful. By that, I mean, I've had times where post a 21-year marriage falling out and even being in another long-term relationship, I've had to not jump into other relationships. I've had to say, no, I need to work on myself. I need to shut down the dating apps and close off those doors right now because I want to be a better, healthier version of me. And I know that if I give myself that investment, I'm going to start to attract healthier versions of partners, of lovers, of platonic and romantic people in my life. And that's a powerful thing. We don't often want to look at that and realize when you hear somebody say, oh, my ex was a narcissist, what does that say about you? Like attracts like. I believe in it. The law of attraction. But most people, again, we mentioned it earlier, we don't want to see the darkness inside of us. When someone calls us out, we right away get defensive and call them back out. But it's like attracts like. This is a law, the law of attraction. Losing. So this was a big one. Being a loser is so powerful.
That is a
It's
big
a powerful thing, man, to be a loser. And when I mean losing, I mean letting go of stuff. Losing stuff, let go. I let go of everything I could think of. Thoughts, beliefs, experiences, guilt, shame, material possessions, cars, you name it, man. I've let go of it all. And it's powerful because when you let go, when you are proactively saying, I'm going to let go of all these things I'm clinging to, I'm going to let go, open my hands, you lose what's not aligned with you. And the things that are still meant for you come right back. You don't lose it. It's just a mindset. And so being a loser is actually a powerful thing. Like attracts like. I just talked about that. Complete health is mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical health. There's not just healthy, it's literally aligning the parts of who we are. Find what makes you feel alive and do it often. For me, it's being out in nature. The more I'm in nature, I just feel alive out there. I'm one with nature, the birds, the insects, the trees, the grass, the water. I mean, I love it. And so find what makes you feel alive and go and do that. If it's dancing or whatever, but can you do it on life's terms? Or do you need to go? Because I used to be the guy that was out in nature, getting drunk, getting high, and that's not it. That's not it. I have everything I need to succeed right now inside of me. That's a hard one to wrap our heads around. We think we need the money. We think we need the love. We think we need the relationship. We think we need the job. It is a state of mind and a state of being to truly realize that everything that you need is inside of you. And the more that you start to believe that you are the person with that great job, the person with the incredible relationship, the person in the dream house, the more that you start to believe that you are worthy of that, it happens. No one knows who they truly are. Try new things. We do not know who we are. There's someone that's listening to this right now that thinks they know who they are, but if you went all in on yourself, discovering and cultivating these gifts, truly aligning yourself with your divine birthright, you could be the person that totally changes this world for the better. It's incredible that we are so undiscovered in ourselves. Everything that we think about ourselves is based on what? The past.
The past and what everyone
The
else
future is unknown.
Yeah.
You don't know who you are. Failure is part of the success process. Life's greatest gift. Life is the greatest gift. The second greatest is connection. If it was easy, it wouldn't be worth it. No one's coming to rescue you. There's always multiple layers. I was someone that defined myself as having anger issues. I wasn't an angry man. Underneath the anger was being scared, being afraid, being nervous, feeling abandoned, feeling unloved. I used anger because it was the only emotion I knew how to express. I didn't want to be vulnerable to say, I'm really scared shitless right now and I don't know what to do in my life. So instead, I'm going to be angry. I'm going to be confrontational. So there's always multiple layers. It's the emotion you show is not really the emotion you're feeling. The three aspects to who we are: child, adult, and parent. No one cares about you as much as you care about you. People only change when they're ready. Always be learning new things. This one's really fun. Don't forget to play.
Mm.
Give yourself permission to go and play. The inner child inside of you, like to go splash around in the water, to go jump in a lake, to go run up a mountain, to go dance. You know how many people are just so scared to dance without alcohol in dark nights, like to just dance. I'm in the gym over there, man. I'm dancing. Everybody's like, what is this guy on? I'm just, I don't care. Give yourself permission to play. Go swing, whatever it is. Go play and do it often. The love you give yourself is the love you give others. So love yourself often, love yourself every day. And with that being said, man, I really appreciate you today, Al.
I appreciate you too. And thank you for sharing those. You've got some great ones in there. So thank you. And again, thank you for your time. Really do appreciate it. Thank you for what you're doing to make this world a better place. And I'm grateful and blessed that you're a part of my life. I'm glad that we met a couple years ago. And again, it's just been an amazing thing to watch your journey through all this. I mean, seeing who the person Gregory was the first time that we did a show compared to now, I mean, it's like night and day. And again, it's that journey that we've been on and growing, right? We've grown into
Yeah.
something so much different. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. The mutual respect is shared. And it is true that, and I mean, that's such a great compliment. See, so many people are scared for somebody to say, hey, you're different. It's like, yes, thank you. I
Yeah,
run into people all the time. They're like, wait, you're not who I think you are. I'm like, yes, I am. And that's like the greatest compliment. Give yourself permission to change, to evolve. We should not stay the same. You haven't stayed the same. You're not a little toddler still. You're not a little teenager. You're not a 20 something. And the greatest version of you is right now. If you put in the work, if you truly live life with intention to just be the best version of you. That's it. It's that simple. It's not that easy to be the best version because we think we need all this stuff. It's having a heart, man. It's loving yourself unconditionally. And then it's just so beautiful when you can share that, man. So I do appreciate our connection, our value, and thank you so much for seeing that in me, that I have evolved, man. I have. I had a lot of anger when we first talked. I mean, I was coming out of a relation, just still confused about life in my 40s, trying to figure out which way was up in terms of love and relationships and who I was trying to be. And there was a lot of anger there. I can admit that. I was literally a pretty fired up guy, and I'm still fired up. But that fire is built in just love and kindness and wanting to just be the light in the dark world.
I love it. Gregory, again, thank you, my friend. I really do appreciate you. I love and respect you. And so, yeah, I just thank you. I just can't say thank you enough. And thank you to all our past guests and our future guests, to all our past sponsors, and especially thank you to all you listeners. You guys are the ones that are making this show a success. And guys, I'm going to throw a plug out there. Remember, mark your calendars for October 5th at the Sandy Free Miller Enterprise Building in Sandy, Utah. We've got our fourth Healing Utah Success Summit coming up. This one's going to blow your mind. If you guys have been to the other three, this one's going to be completely different. So if you want to come out and be motivated, educated, we're going to be talking about suicide, which we talked about a little bit on the show today. We're going to be talking about addiction and recovery, domestic violence. We've got the whole plethora of things. As a matter of fact, I am going to be talking about what Gregory shared. I'm going to be talking about the drama triangle. And a good book, if you guys want to learn more about it, go order The Power of Ted. That is an exceptional book that'll teach you a lot more about the drama triangle, what we've talked about today. So guys, again, thank you for all your support. I love and appreciate you. And remember this, addiction is giving up everything for one thing, and recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.